Rufus, it's great to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
So what we did with the students is just to have a timeline. So we start with Adam and Eve and with work and with rules.
Yeah.
I would like to hear
the
from
Ten
you.
Commandments, yeah.
Rufus is here. Rufus Pollock is here, as you told you. And I'm just saying what we are doing, because I would really like, I have your book here, and I really love this line. We are playing by old rules in a new world. It's time to change that. Yeah. So, please, Rufus, tell us, what is the old world? What do you mean when you say the old world?
Well, okay, even before I'm going to answer, it's great to meet all of you, and it would be good to make the session sort of interactive. So what do you, if you...
Kommt doch an, kommt doch in die Nähe.
What do you guys think I mean by the old world? And what's the new world?
Ha! Come on. Show it here. So we had it yesterday.
So come along. So we get 7 8. So what do people think is new about the world today in the area that I'm talking about? There's loads of things that are always new, right? Every day we read about in the news. But what's profoundly different about particularly our economy? Anyone? Just go for it. It's no.
Perhaps it's a little bit the English language.
Yeah,
so we are paid.
It's French better because I can speak French.
You know we.
You prefer English, okay?
We all learned 8 years of French, but we don't speak it.
Let me make a point. So basically, 10,000 years ago, or 12,000 years ago, roughly between 10,000 BC and 8,000 BC, we had the agricultural revolution. So even before the beginning, Adam and Eve probably, if we're talking realistically about the Bible, were probably, they didn't probably exist, but the Judeo-Christian stuff comes from about between 2000 and 1000 BC, probably the really old stuff. And so even before that, you had the agricultural revolution, which was, you had settled agriculture, right? You went from being gatherer-hunters to actually kind of producing food. And lots of stuff came from that. I won't go into that. But then we fast forward to, let's say, 1700, 1800, and you have the Industrial Revolution, right? So in a way, we start producing steel and other things. But what happened in the second part of the 20th century? What did we invent? The computer, exactly. We invented the computer. Now, as with all things, like the Industrial Revolution, stuff went on hundreds of years earlier. Like, strictly, it's not like it's some sudden moment. So, for example, in the 19th century, we had the telegraph, right? All the way back here, and right about this time, we invented writing. Writing was invented about 3000 BC to 2000 BC. Maybe went back somewhat older in terms of pictograms. But that's the greatest information technology revolution of all time, was writing.
What about language?
Well, language goes like 650. We don't know, hundreds of thousands.
Just they had it here: Sprache, Schrift,
great,
and then Buchdruck.
Great. So you have Gutenberg, right? So speech, hundreds of thousands of years, and that was obviously maybe the greatest of all time. Then it was writing, and then we got computers. Now, what's special, though, about the recent period is the level of the digital revolution. The impact it's had on the economy is that in the old economy, whether it was the Industrial Revolution or the Agricultural Revolution or all the way back, it was a world of physical things. For example, here's my shoe. Okay? Now my shoe is a physical thing. For example, if this gentleman has my shoe, I don't have it anymore, right? I'm walking around without a shoe, like this, yeah? Now, what happens though if I get out my phone and I send him a photo? Do I still have a photo? Yeah, and he has a photo. Now that is fundamentally different. Fundamentally, profoundly different. That in the old world of things, which we still have, we're still going to eat food and take trains and have houses. But more and more of our economy and the things we make and consume, the movies we watch, and even the things that are physical, more and more of the value of that train or the cost of making that train is not the atoms, putting together the atoms into the steel to make the cars. It's design. It's the software. It's the patents on the braking system.
So what does it do it with the rules? So I really love this.
So we're coming to the rules. So first of all, we got what's the new world. So the new world is a world of bits rather than atoms. Now, what are the rules? So what was the basic rule? And again, going back to the Code of Collaborate back here, the rules, and it took us a while to invent them, that we invented about the physical world. Well, the Ten Commandments, but it's a good one. So what's one of the 10 Commandments? Is thou shalt not steal. Right? Because there's a fundamental thing, which is, as we just discovered, when I give my shoe away, I don't have it anymore. Right? So if he takes my shoe, I don't have it. So there's just a physical fact of the world that's only one person at a time can have my shoe. It's either me or it's him. Yes? But in a world of music or movies or ideas, he can have the idea and I can at the same time. Now, what we created was a physical fact. Only one person can have a physical thing at one time. So what we did was we created social rules. We invented rules of our society, which was private property.
Yeah.
We took this physical fact and we created rules of society. This is your land, if someone comes to take it, you can sue them, you can do whatever. We had rules about private property. Get my shoes out. If you took my shoes, I'd get them, we'd go, call the police, this is stuff that happened, right? Because, now, you can debate or not, some people debate about private property. In general, it's a system that's worked really pretty well. Most societies of the world run on private property for physical stuff. But information, we just saw, is fundamentally different. It can be costlessly copied or infinitely shareable. Now, the first copy costs something. Making the first version of the movie, making it come out the first idea, does cost something. But making copies after that is different. But what we did, and our basic mistake, was that we took these old rules of private property that had worked so well for land or shoes or cars, and we put it in this world of bits, of information. Now you might think that's just innocent, right? You might just think, hey, there's no difference, right? But I don't know who here has read Harry Potter. Is anyone who's not read Harry Potter? So do you remember that Hagrid? Do you remember Hagrid, the big gamekeeper? And he really likes these animals. At one point he gets this kind of flesh-eating spider and brings it up as his kind of pet. Because he thought it's really sweet, but of course it's a flesh-eating spider. So that's the problem. So there's a kind of similar aspect, and part of it would be misled because digital technology is so amazing. And it is amazing. And it will go on being amazing because what's so incredible about digital is it means we have a world of where most of the stuff we want to make can be infinite, costlessly shared. And imagine that for thousands of years food was like that. It would have been like the story in the Bible where a small amount of bread feeds 5,000. There would have been no hunger. It would have been amazing. And that's what's happened today. We're in this amazing world. But weirdly, we've kind of created these rules that precisely stop that. The whole point of intellectual property rights, of monopoly rights, is to prevent that happening. Now, for a somewhat good purpose, we need to pay the creators. And there's a way to do that, and I'd come to that, and that's in the book, of how we can pay creators without giving out monopoly rights, without preventing the sharing and stuff. But what I want to speak about is what are the consequences of that? Maybe it's just innocent. Hey, so what? We've applied these rules. What are the consequences? So there are two really profound consequences for our future in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and the rest of the 21st century. And there are two. One is stunted innovation and growth. So what is I call the Chronos effect. So because information we discuss can be shared, it can also be very easily modified and built on.
Rufus, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't get the point. But it's just the English.
Good.
What is the first point?
The first point is what I call the Kronos effect.
Kann es jemand übersetzen? Was heißt das?
That's what I'm about to explain.
Huh?
So Kronos was the father of Zeus. He was a titan, in fact.
Okay.
And Kronos had a prophecy told to him, which was that his children would overthrow him. So what did he do? Does anyone know the story? No, they're Greek mythology. So what Kronos decided is that he would eat his children. Every time his wife Rhea gave birth to a child, he'd eat it. That way the child would never grow up to threaten him. But one day, Rhea managed to have a child secretly, which was Zeus. He became the head of all the gods. And so he escaped. And one day, while Kronos was sleeping, he cut Kronos' stomach open and let out all of his children who were still alive but stuck in the stomach. Yeah. And together they waged war on the Titans. And of course, they actually did win. The prophecy came true, as all prophecies always kind of do. And they did overthrow their parents and they kind of locked them up and stuff. And the thing is that in a world of intellectual property rights and basically monopolies, and I'd have to go into a little more detail here, but basically you end up with the monopolies we're seeing online, like WhatsApp, Google, and so on. Now, why is that? In a world, if we did really let information copy, Google's algorithm, Google's software would be available to anybody to run a competing service. But no, they have the right to prevent that. If you do that, they'll sue you. If all the software that ran Facebook and all the protocols that ran Facebook were open, we'd have lots of compatible networks. And we know what that world could look like because it happened once before in our lifetime. It was called the Internet. The Internet is as complicated. You might not actually know how the Internet works, but it's a way that when your computer connects to the Internet, it can send stuff to another computer. And you may have no idea how that works, but believe me, it's quite complicated. It's certainly as complicated as how Facebook works. But what happened was the government, the US government particularly, funded the development of the Internet in the 1960s and 70s. And they made all of that system open. And the result of that was in the 90s, anyone, you didn't have to sign up with, Swiss Telecom and agree to pay them a percentage of your profits if you wanted to build something on the Internet. I mean, you have to do that if you sign up with Facebook and build an app on Facebook, right? Mm-hmm. And if you want to, let's say I said, I want to invent Rufus' social network. It's going to compete with Facebook. And Facebook, I'd like you to allow me to connect to Facebook so I can connect to all the people's friends and send messages. What do you think Facebook says? No. They don't let you do it. They sue you. Right? Now, with the Internet, anyone could build on it. But imagine the Internet being like Facebook. Google wouldn't exist, Facebook wouldn't exist, Amazon wouldn't exist, because whoever controlled the Internet would have said, I only want things I can control that I will make money from. And it illustrates the point that the greatest, when we have information, it's so generative. What I mean by that is so much can grow on it. You don't know what could have been built on the Internet. If you go and ask someone in 1990 what will get built, how would they know? How would we have known what could have been built on the Internet? And to go back to Kronos, what children has Facebook eaten? Sometimes they don't necessarily literally devour them, they buy them. Can anyone think of things that Facebook has devoured because they threatened them?
Instagram,
WhatsApp. And WhatsApp. The two biggest threats to Facebook. Do you know how much money Facebook made the year they got bought for $24 billion? They made $10 million in revenue. They were bought for $24 billion and they made $10 million in revenue. Why on earth would Facebook pay that money? They only paid it because they were afraid of what WhatsApp would become, a competitor. But that's bad for you because you have no idea what goes on. If you notice that WhatsApp has basically not done any innovation in the last 4 years. Mm-hmm. Like, it's basically the same as it was. I mean, it's good. I use it every day.
This was
zero innovation.
Point one, huh?
Huh?
This was the first point.
That was the first point. So let me come to the second.
Gee, I love to hear to you. But so, we have to talk about how to work and so. But no, the second point.
The second point is more relevant to you guys. So I want to get the first point. The second point is inequality.
Yeah.
So even downstairs, I saw they had a thing about the future of work and robots.
Yeah.
Why are people excited about robots? I mean, robots should be awesome, right? I mean, people are excited about washing machines. I was excited when my family got a dishwasher. I had to do the washing up as a kid. Right? I was really excited. Well, the reason is because that future is owned by the 1%. Right now, robots really run on software. That's what's really the value. It's not the metal arms, that stuff. It's the software, it's the brains. And that is owned by a very few number of people because of monopoly rights. Now, if we were to adopt openness and remuneration rights, a way of paying innovators, but which paid them good money but was compatible, we'd have a much more even distribution of wealth. Now, how did that show up? What was the single biggest cause of Donald Trump getting elected? Growing inequality in the United States.
Uh-huh.
Do you know that since 1973, the bottom half of the US population, the bottom 60%, that's 180 million people, are no better off today, practically, than they were in 1973. Their income in real terms has barely grown. But the richest group has seen it grow a lot. And the most of that is because of the rise of digital technology.
Yeah.
Who are all the billionaires in the world today? People who own a costless copy machine, but only they are allowed to use it. Now, what the book is therefore about is how can we create new rules that would allow for innovation, innovators to get paid, startups to do great and still make lots of money, but for the information we create to be shared openly with everybody, with innovation to be available in that way. And you can have both. Normally if I came along and said, hey, everyone's going to have just like Ferraris, everyone in the world's going to have Ferraris, but somehow it won't kind of cost anything, you'd be like, Rufus, that's too good to be true. So why is it possible I can come along and say, hey, we can have quality, we can have growth, we can have innovation, and we can have openness? Well, because of the costless copying I said at the beginning. We're in a world where I could give everyone a copy of a piece of music at the click of a button. That's what makes an incredible new world possible. And my point when you go out to the fundamental drivers of inequality, insecurity, fear, and it goes back often just to basic things about wealth and opportunity. Not even money, but just the opportunity to have a decent job, to have something valuable to contribute in society.
And how do people earn money?
So, what you want to think about, the best example I can give at the moment is, who here knows something called Spotify?
Mm-hmm.
People know Spotify?
Yeah, sure.
So, in a way, it's a really simple trick, right? So, the trick goes like this, which is, the old world of iTunes, you bought individual tracks, like €1 a track. People remember the old days of iTunes like that? Yeah? And now, in that model, there's only so many tracks you can afford. Maybe your total music budget is 100. Now maybe you can pirate a few tracks here and there or whatever, but legitimately you can only buy 100 tracks. So if you're a law-abiding person, you only listen to 100 tracks, and the artists only get 100 Swiss francs. Now imagine a Spotify model, where you pay them 100, let's say 100 Swiss francs just for the sake of argument, a year, but now you have unlimited access to music.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the artists still get the same amount of money, which is 100 Swiss francs a year, but you allow the costless copying to work. You give out tracks at the cost of their value. And maybe you're even willing to pay a bit more because you now have unlimited access to music. So what you can see is that simple example. You can go from like a scarcity model. Now, it's true that, strictly in a way, obviously Spotify people have licensed their copyright, but in a strict way it's kind of got rid of its copyright internally. You don't pay per track, you just pay once and have unlimited access. And we could do that model, not necessarily run by Spotify, but you could do that for medicines, you could do it for software, you could do it for movies, you could do it for music. You could do it for everything in the information economy. Mm. That's how you would do it.
Okay.
And who could be the organization like Spotify who controls that money flow and stuff?
Right. So there's two parts of that. So there's someone who has to collect the money, and then there's the way the money gets distributed. Now, I just emphasize that because what one would really want is, you don't want some kind of monopoly controlling who gets the money, because they might do bad things. They might treat the artist badly. say, we're now getting all this money, we're getting 100 euros, 100, but because we have the whole music market, like every user's on our platform, you know, we're only going to pay her 20 Swiss francs a year out of that 100 we collect, right? Or just because we're now the platform with all the music on it, I might be going to you and saying, well, I said it was 100 Swiss francs last year, but you know what? You still want access to that music? It's 200 Swiss francs now. And all the music, we have all the music, so you've got no choice. So you want to make sure, so the answer is the money needs to be collected by someone who can make sure everyone contributes. And that's basically our governments. So our governments would make sure that we put money in the pot, but they would have no say in how the music money was distributed. They could still do public funding of the arts like they do today, but in terms of the Spotify aspect, the government put the money in a fund, we could call it Open Spotify, and the money would though be distributed a bit like Spotify actually do today, based on how much the music is played. So you'd still have that demand-based distribution that was determined by the market. It would also mean that any artist could start up. You don't need to get permission from some government bureaucrat of like, no, anyone can publish their music. And they automatically get a remuneration right that entitles them to be paid from the fund based on how much their music is played. So they've got this right that they could sell if they want to sell. They're not dependent on some bureaucrat approving them. But that's how you would do the model. And you could do it for medicines. I mean, an even more relevant area, if you're thinking about social work, is that more and more, maybe Swiss is an exception, it's such a wealthy country, but basically all over Europe now, even in the wealthiest countries, people who are not so well off cannot get medicines. Some medicines have got so expensive that national health services, even when you've got insurance from the government or others, will not pay for certain drugs.
It's a point here as well.
Right, and that's really relevant, particularly on people who are less well off, right? And that is exactly the same. I've got a really close relative who's got a lung disease that's really serious, and there's a treatment for it, a new drug that's come out in the last few years, but it costs £70,000 a year, and the UK NHS, which is like our health service, has said they won't pay for it. It's too expensive for the benefits that it gives. But the actual drug only costs about £500 or £600 to make. It's like that old world where you wanted to listen to a track, but you don't have another, you don't want to spend another Swiss franc. The track's maybe worth 20 cents to you. So in this case, if we could manufacture those drugs at the cost and supply them to people and still pay the innovator as much money as they're getting today, we'd have a win-win. Still as much money for people who do biotech startups, but no one particularly would be denied access to drugs because they can't afford them.
Last question, because I'm afraid Hannes Gassert will kill me after that. What have you done with Rufus? So you have down there 300 people. You will talk in 30 minutes, I guess.
I think so, yes. Yeah.
And this afternoon you will have a wonderful interview with Hannes Grassecker. Yeah, we know everything, you know. So we are happy to read the interview.
One last thing, which is that for you guys in this room, the biggest thing I want to say is that you can make this happen. Like, the most interesting things in the world, unfortunately, they don't work on just an individual basis. They take a movement for them to happen. Whether it's stopping climate change or making an open information age. But I would argue to you that this is the single biggest opportunity and choice, socially and economically, of the 21st century. Because you literally have a clear choice between an open information economy and a closed one. In a closed one, I don't know if people know, but inequality is on the highest levels in the century. And it's what's driving populism, it's driving unhappiness, it's driving, like fear and uncertainty for the poorest members of society, and even the middle classes now. And I would offer that we need a movement, and you can make a difference. Like, the simplest thing you can do today is when you go out and you have lunch, or you see your family, or you see something, you can say, what's different about this digital world? And I bet they'll say, oh, it's that there's AI, or there's something. And all those things, it's like they're a bit like cars replacing horses. They're important, but the really profound change is infinite shareability or costless copying. And you could just share that. You could say, oh, did you realise the actually really big difference? Do you realise that we kind of are still treating like digital stuff like it's like bread we buy at the station? And do you know, like, what do you think of the consequences of that? Like, do you get worried about Google and Facebook and how powerful they seem to be? And, you can just have a conversation. Like, it's a small thing. But every person who has an awareness like that is someone who supports change, potentially. And I believe the next stage is to actually make a remuneration rights happen. You could start saying to the Swiss government, hey, we should have remuneration rights for medicines. Why don't we start taking all the money we pay in our insurance fund, we'll still pay all those Swiss, the pharmaceutical companies as much money, but let's have unlimited access as well. So for those two things, share with at least one person the idea. What's different, you can say to them. And then you can, if you want to get involved, you can visit openrevolution.net, it's the website, and you can come and find out more. And there's lots of activities to be done. I'm going to run a leaders program later this year where you can come for 2 days or 3 days, learn how to be a digital leader and how to make an open revolution happen, etc. But yeah, take action. If you're looking for someone to make a difference in society, I would suggest you this is the single biggest opportunity. It's even better than climate change because it's win-win. Climate change is probably a little bit more important. But only just. I mean, this really determines the future of our economic society. We have a world of incredible inequality, where a tiny few have most of the power and wealth, or we can have one in which everyone gets to participate in the benefits of the information age.
Thank you so much. It's great. Thank you so much. Hey, ciao. Thank you. It's great. Your energy and that you make this difference, and it's very inspiring. Yes. All the best. Bye bye. Ciao.
Ciao. Where do I go next? I can go somewhere.
Well, it's great.